Hello everyone, welcome to my ROCCO 2026 Innovator session. In this session I will present Spotlight, that will be the industry community to better detect and understand the travel eSIM traffic. The solution will be using AI agents insights and will this enable monetization. So let's start. First of all, I would like to present myself. My name is Rui RIbeiro. I'm the Director of Data Management Service, and my role, as the name indicates, data is a key element for this solution. So, as always, let's start with the problem. As we all know, and we can see, and we can even feel it, travel eSIM adoption is increasing a lot. And of course, this impacts how roaming connectivity is bought, sold, and consumed. For example, since I'm based in Switzerland, a lot of times I choose a Swiss airline company, and after buying the ticket, I have the option to buy a travel eSIM data package. This we can see in different platforms of booking, for example. It means that people will more and more buy this type of products. So when we talk about the roaming industry community, the operators, we can see the big majority have a problem to have a clear picture what is the impact of travel eSIM in their roaming business, and there are some reasons. The first reason, of course, is there is no industry-wide definition, so there is no playbook or guidelines to explain what is travel eSIM and the definition of it. Okay? Another questions, of course, will pop up. How can I detect travel eSIM? Which travel eSIM providers generate it? How large is the penetration of this traffic comparing with traditional roaming? How this retail pricing will impact the wholesale IoT rates? So this question pops up. What is this? Is it an industry threat or is it a missed opportunity? I'll try to answer these questions with my presentation. So the marketplace, of course, will be the roaming community, the roaming industry. And there are multiple use cases that I want to show you. So when we talk about travel eSIM, there are different scenarios that you might want to consider, okay? Because we need to see, is this travel eSIM or not? Okay, so let's start with scenario one. In scenario one, I call you direct retail offering. So we have the HPMN, that is MNOA. We have the VPMN, that is MNOZ. And the MNOA is offering a travel eSIM retail package, for example, in their website. But this is branded as MNOA. So when the user is choosing this package, you know this comes from MNOA. This might be considered travel eSIM because it can even have the name in the offer of travel eSIM, but for me, this is just a retail package that is offered in the website of MNOA because in terms of roaming, nothing changed. If we go to scenario 2, what I call white label partnership, we are again with MNOA, but MNOA offers the same travel eSIM retail package in another website, can be for example a company of booking, but you cannot see that the offer comes from MNOA. So I call this white labeling the product. But in the end, we have in terms of roaming, MNOA offering this product in another place, and the roaming will work as normal. Is this travel eSIM? Let's go to the scenario 3. In the scenario 3, MNOA wants to be part of the travel eSIM business, so he has a negotiation with the eSIM provider. In this case, we call travel eSIM provider 1, and the travel eSIM provider will offer different packages. So what will happen is MNOA will need to resell some of his IMSI ranges to travel eSIM provider 1, and this travel eSIM provider will advertise wherever and where he wants, okay? And then when someone buys this package, you will be roaming, and MNOA will be roaming in MNOZ. We might consider this travel eSIM, let's see. Let's make things more interesting, okay? So this is when things get interesting. So MNOA, in this case, doesn't have good rates for roaming or good coverage, so you'll use a sponsor. In this case, the sponsor will be MNOB. So MNOB is sponsoring MNOA. But MNOA is interested also to participate in the travel eSIM business. So he will resell this sponsor to a travel eSIM provider one that people can buy in different marketplaces, and then the roaming will happen. In this case, MNOA will be sponsored by MNOB, but of course resell some of these ranges that MNOB gave to him for travel eSIM. Finally, in the scenario 5, that for me is a variation of the scenario 4, we have the same thing, MNOA being sponsored by B, but he resells these IMSI ranges to the eSIM provider 1 that resells to eSIM provider 2. I call this multi-tier reselling. So as you can see, we have different scenarios. So what, in my opinion, is missing, besides the fact that the community understands that travel eSIM is coming and is there, is a near real-time understanding of the travel eSIM behavior. And this is very important because the type of traffic is growing a lot. We need travel eSIM providers appearing every day with attractive options. And of course, some questions will trigger. For example, how fast is this travel eSIM growing compared with the traditional roaming? Which travel eSIM providers are active on my network? Who is sponsoring this traffic? What is the commercial impact on my roaming business for inbound and outbound? So in the end, the community needs a solution that can answer these questions and not the need to be a technical person or a data analyst to get the answers from different angles. So let's show the solution, but before I go, I want to explain how the solution was designed. So when people have a lot of questions, the best way is to ask those questions using their natural language. And for that, AI can translate human questions to our solution, and using our data or the customer data, you give the answers they need. But before going to the solution, I want to explain that the detection of the travel eSIM is quite challenged. So we need to use in the solution different criteria. For example, dedicated APNs, dedicated IMSI ranges, IMSI provisioning patterns, IMSI data traffic usage patterns, and of course, check the eSIM device compatibility. So let's go for the solution. So as I mentioned in the beginning, the solution is called Spotlight, that will have an AI data assistant that will help the user to better understand the travel eSIM traffic. The solution looks like this. So when the user can select multiple roaming industry topics, it means that the solution is scalable, okay? But the topic that we implemented was travel eSIM because it's a hot topic. And when the users enter the solutions, they can choose the topic. In this case, the user selects travel eSIM, and when he selects travel eSIM, the solution immediately gives the user some questions that are the most popular, the most common, so the user can click. Of course, the user can choose to enter the question in the prompt, and when the user goes to the prompt, he has two options. He can ask the question to his data, so it's my data, or can ask the question to public data, so data in public internet, or he can combine. When he's using my data, the user can access signaling or IPX data, TAP data, or even BC data. So the data that we have from the user, the questions can be used. So in this case, the user wants to write, so he goes to the prompt and he asks a simple question. How many travel eSIM roamers versus traditional roamers are in my network, and how much data was used, and what are the travel eSIM providers involved? So the user asks the question, and the solution, using his data, gives the answer by showing the different travel eSIM providers that are in the M1 network, and what is the ratio of this type of traffic in terms of IMSIs and in terms of data. The user is not happy because he wants to do a presentation to the management, and a grid is not that nice for doing presentations. So the user has the possibility in this case to ask a question to the solution in order to create a chart to better make the distribution of the travel eSIM providers versus traditional roamers, and he can use this chart to show to the management what is the situation in terms of travel eSIM in his network. Since the user has a huge curiosity, and in order to shine in front of the management, the user wants to know, since it is located in Switzerland, and travel eSIM provider is one of the business providers that is in his network, he will ask the public data what are the travel eSIM data package offered by this provider in Switzerland in this case, and what is the retail package for 7 days. So the solution will go to public data and will give the user what are the possibilities. In this case, the user is only interested in 7 days, and he also is interested to know what is the price per megabyte. So in this case, the price per megabyte that this travel eSIM provider is offering in Switzerland, that then is landing in his network, is 0.035 per meg. Then, since the user has an agreement with roaming partner Demo2, the user can ask the question to know, in terms of roaming agreement, what is the price per megabyte for inbound that he negotiates with Demo2, and in this case, the solution using his data tells him that is 0.010 megabytes. Since travel eSIM is a retail offer, it's very important to understand to the user to know what is happening commercially in terms of retail, but also in terms of wholesale, to have the full picture, to take better decisions during negotiations, and this solution can help with that. So in the end, we are talking about this question, right? Is this an industry threat or a missed opportunity? Okay, so in my opinion, this is a missing opportunity for the fact that I don't believe that travel eSIM will disappear, and I think it will grow. So if you think it's a threat, maybe you need a solution that using sophisticated detection, but also AI reasoning, plus internal and public data, it will give the answers from different angles in an easy way. So let's check what is the business model. So when we talk about the business model, the important thing to know is that to have this solution, you don't need to be a Comfone customer. What we need is your data, okay? Of course, one important thing is that Spotlight will be a cloud-based web solution, so it can be accessible from the internet. It will have an API that, imagine that you have your own portal and you don't want to go to this solution, but you still want to have the opportunity to ask these questions. So we will make an API available for you. And of course, the solution can be based on different data sources, IPX, clearing, and BC, and much more. The solution is built in the way that we can add different data sources, and the AI assistant will ask the different sources to get the better answer. As you could see in my presentation, this solution can correlate public data with external data. For example, the user asks what was the data package that the travel eSIM provider 1 was offering, and this came from public internet. But then the user could also ask what was the rate that he has agreed with Demo2, and this was his own data. It means the user can have a full picture of what's going on. The deployment is very low cost because once the solution is running in the web base, we just need to enable the different data source by getting this data, unless you are a Comfone customer. As you could see in the first slide of the solution is not only for travel eSIM. You'll have other use cases beyond travel eSIM, like for silent roamers, M2M, or permanent roamers, or other problems or use cases that the industry needs to ask questions. But in this case, we focus our solution for the travel eSIM to better detect, and in the future we'll implement other use cases. In terms of competence and delivering, this solution was thought by me by getting the inputs of the industry, but of course in collaboration with the software architect, because we need to maintain the security, to know what can we use and what are the best practice. Of course, we need to have a good design, so the user likes the experience when he's asking questions and when he's making correlations, etc. And of course, we need someone to develop. So with this team, we can design, we can productize, and we can develop the solution. In terms of competence, as you know, Comfone, we have more than 25 years of experience in the roaming business, so we can understand what the roaming industry needs in terms of the different aspects of travel eSIM, discount agreements, reselling, sponsor roaming, etc. We have more than 600 customers that help us also with input and feedback about the solutions that we are creating. The solution is always customer and business case oriented. To save all this data, we need to have in-house big data expertise, and the development is fully done in-house in Switzerland. In terms of technology, as I mentioned before, we will be using cloud-based with enterprise-grade services. Of course, to use public data, we'll use external LLMs, okay? Because we need to make reasoning and interpretation of the prompts, so we can query the public data. In terms of the data of the user, this will be, of course, inside data centers of Comfone. Will never leave the internal environment. And we'll be using what we call an MCP server in order to access the different data source and to secure that only the right person can access this data. As I mentioned before, we'll have an API that anyone can embed this assistant in their own website, so in the end, people doesn't need to leave their own portal in order to have this type of access. And of course, we'll have a conversation context management. It means if the user asks questions today, tomorrow, if he asks different questions, the AI assistant will consider what was asked before, because we keep the context of the conversation the user is having with Spotlight Data Assistant. In terms of deliver, what is the plan? So the first thing that we did is to detect travel eSIM. This was a huge and challenging step, because we need to have different algorithms to better detect, to use different criteria in order to know this is travel eSIM or not. Then we start a POC, a proof of concept, with Spotlight Data AI Assistant to introduce an LLM in order that we can interpret natural language of the users, and we introduce the travel eSIM domain layer. What this means? We had to aggregate data in different ways in order that when the user asks different questions, the solution can give the right answer. So this is the proof of concept. The next step, of course, will be a collaboration with some customers using their data to understand if the solution is doing the right answers, because they know in terms of their data what they should expect. So for that, we'll take 2 key customers of DMS for this collaboration. The next phase will be the productization. So we'll create product description, create marketing collaterals, and of course make the deployment, so any customer or non-customer can use this solution. Then we do an announcement in our connection in Bern this year, where we can reveal Spotlight a Data Assistant, and then after we do the announce, this solution will be released to the market. Finally, as I mentioned, we'll have an expansion and evolution by introducing new business case, technically we call domain layers, where the user can ask the other different topics. I would like to thank you for having my session, and I hope that you like. So see you soon. Bye.